What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now today I have an unboxing and first impressions on this boot right here, the Nike Mercurial Superfly 10. Now I'm really excited about this colorway and about this boot. I was actually looking to get the Superfly or the Vapor 16 at the Unisport store when I did go to Copenhagen, but they didn't have my size, so I didn't get the launch colorway. I really like this colorway that they did have here, so I'm glad that I didn't get the launch colorway and that I waited for this one. And you guys can see here the box is very cool. It comes in the safari print, which matches the boot itself. I really like when companies do this, when they kind of match the boot with the box. And I don't know, it just makes it a little bit more special, and I'm for sure keeping this box. But yeah, the print is on the entire box. Here we have the label, Zoom Superfly 10 Elite FG and the Olympics. So this is made for the Olympics. So here we have the string bag, which matches the boot itself, and it is kind of like this white gray color with the safari print kind of fading out. It's the same thing as in the boots, so it's a pretty nice string bag. I really like the design of it. Like I said, I always like when they kind of match the design on the boots. And then here we have the boots, and boom. Now, like I said, I really like that I waited to get this colorway and not the launch colorway, just because this one is just amazing. It looks so cool. Here we have the safari print here going around and cuts off here. So I think this is the best looking one out of the entire pack in my opinion, but let me know in the comments down below which one you think is the best looking. But even in person, it looks way better. There's more details that you don't see in the pictures. For example, this swoosh here, you guys can see it is a navy or dark blue. You guys can see that reflect on the light. It's not black. And the safari print here is also in the same color, this deep blue or navy. It just looks very sick. And then the sole plate, of course, looks insane. Very nice sole plate. It also has the safari print. I'm actually not sure if this is a wearable finish like the safari print, or if it's underneath. I believe it is going to be a wearable finish, just because you guys can see here it kind of has a cutoff point, and then that's where the iridescent finish starts. So I believe this will be a wearable finish, and so we probably won't have the safari print after wearing it, which kind of sucks. I kind of wish they had it underneath the sole plate, but it still looks very, very cool. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the colorway down below. I really like it. This kind of reminds me of that poisonous frog, that blue frog. But yeah, it's very, very cool. And this upper, I actually thought it was a white color, but it's actually a gray bluish color. It looks very nice in person. You guys can see, this is white, the paper, and this is not white. It's more a gray blue. Alright, now taking a look at the Superfly 10 and the Vapor 16. And it's basically the same boot, just that the Superfly has an extended collar with the dynamic fit collar, and so that's the only difference. So I just decided to get the Superfly just because Soccer Pro only had the Superfly available at the time, and I really wanted to get these as fast as I could just to make the video. So I just decided to get these instead of the Vapor 16, sorry. And so yeah, that's the only reason why I got this. But honestly, it's the same thing. You guys can save yourself some money and get it without the collar, or if you guys just really like the dynamic fit collar, go ahead. But we all know that this doesn't really do anything. So Superfly 10, they did make some changes coming from the Superfly 9 and the Vapor 15, and I really enjoyed the Vapor 15 right there. I really liked wearing that boot a lot, and it was actually really comfortable. And I know this boot, for the most part, they kept the same shape. They just changed the upper as well as the sole plate, so we're going to talk about those differences. I'm not going to compare it in this video, but I will do a comparison with the previous model just to see the main differences and all that stuff. Alright, so first we'll talk about the upper, and the upper did change coming from the Vapor 15 to the 16 and from the 9 to the 10, and it is a two-piece upper. And so with this first section of the upper, we do have a grip knit upper. You guys can see the branding right there. So from this seam right here all the way to the next seam, this whole blue gray upper is grip knit, and it is the same as the Phantom GX. Obviously it's grip knit, but the level of grip isn't exactly the same. This does feel a little bit less grippy than the GX. The GX does feel really, really grippy in hand. This one, it does have some grip to it, but not to the same extent as the Phantom GX. This has more of a waxy feeling to it, It kind of reminds me like the Hypervenom 1, but just a little bit more waxy than that. That kind of what I'm getting here. And so the upper itself is very soft and very pliable. It is also pretty thin. I feel like this is a little bit thinner than the previous model. And what Nike said is that they went from 5 layers to 3 layers, so this is supposed to be thinner. They don't have that mesh liner anymore that gave it just a little bit more like padding to it. It's basically gone, and this is pretty thin. And so this upper is going to just feel very barefoot, I believe. Even though it is a knitted upper, it is pretty thin. And because it is like a grip knit upper and it's knit, it's very soft and very pliable, pretty much right out of the box. You guys can see here it is pretty pliable. With the Vapor 15, it was pretty pliable as well from right out of the box, but I feel like it did need a little bit of break-in time just to like make it even softer. This one, because it is like knit, obviously it just feels pretty soft straight out of the box, and I feel like it's gonna have like minimal break-in time needed, but we'll see. And so here, the second part of the upper, this is what they call their Atom Knit, and we've seen Atom Knit in other like sports, so like in the running shoes mainly, and it's supposed to be like a knitted material that's very very thin and just still provides support. And so it transitions here to this like backside, and this part of the upper is pretty thin as well. And you guys can see there is a pretty like harsh seam, you guys can see right here, so it is like kind of clear. But on the inside, you really don't feel it with the hand. It's really smooth, and so I feel like it's not gonna be noticeable on feet because I honestly can't find like the seam on the inside of the upper at all. Like on both sides, it's pretty like seamless. So I honestly don't think that like seam here will be a problem. But the Atom Knit is pretty like thin, and so, but I feel like it's still pretty structured. So we'll just see how it performs. Like this boot overall just seems a bit softer compared to the Vapor 15, and because of that it could be less responsive. Obviously I haven't tried the boots yet, so I can't say, but that's what it kind of feels like. In the middle of the boot we do still have knit, and here you guys can see that it's pretty open, like the knit has holes when you stretch it, which is fine. Like it doesn't really matter if your boots are gonna get wet, they're gonna get wet. And we also do have the dynamic fit collar because this is the Superfly, and honestly this doesn't really do anything and you don't really feel it on feet. Although I will say this time around on the Superfly it does feel a little bit like more like thicker, I guess. That makes a bit more sense. I've noticed that in the previous models they do feel a little bit more like thin and a bit more flimsy. This one kind of has more of a shape to it, and yeah. And there's a lot more padding to this boot compared to like the Vapor 15. You guys can see here, it starts from there, it goes wraps around, and so there's a little bit more padding kind of going all the way here. So I find it a little bit more comfortable. It feels pretty nice. Like the heel feels pretty padded all around. So in terms of like lockdown, I feel like it's gonna have a good amount of lockdown in the heel, and I feel like it's just gonna be super comfortable. And also something that they did here that they already do in their other boots, like the Tempo and the GX, is that they kind of took the cutout of the plastic here. So you guys can see here, basically the plastic is gone from the heel, and so it's a lot more flexible here in the back of the heel, but there's still a good amount of like stability here because the cup kind of just like cuts off and then goes back up. And so even though this is soft, it's still like pretty like firm here, and so this just makes the boot more comfortable in my opinion, and which I really like. Honestly, don't mind this. So here we have a different sole plate kind of and a different stud pattern. So the sole plate overall from here on kind of looks the same, and from the forefoot forward it is different. So in terms of the zoom unit that we do get in the forefoot, it's kind of the same. The only thing that they removed were those seams that they did have here just to make it more flexible, and they removed those just so you could feel the zoom unit like activate more apparently. And that also has to do with this little like spikes here in the middle. So these spikes are supposed to help activate the air zoom so you can kind of feel them underneath your foot. I believe that's what they said. It's just basically so like it evens out the pressure, I believe, which we'll see how they feel on feet. The sole plate itself kind of feels about the same in stiffness, maybe a little bit less now that I'm like flexing it really. Honestly can't really tell. I'm gonna have to wear both on feet and let you guys know later, but you know, it doesn't feel too bad. And here the stud pattern did change. Instead of like those triangle studs, now we went back to all chevron and bladed studs. So here we have these like 4 chevron studs, which are pretty aggressive, and then here we have like these kind of bladed studs, and here in the back is also blades. And so this stud pattern is very aggressive. It kind of went back to its roots, and you're gonna have a good amount of bite pushing forward and all that stuff. Alright, so now we're gonna move on to the on feet portion, and I'm gonna let you guys know how they fit and how they feel on feet. Alright guys, so here I have the Superfly 10s on feet, and these boots are very comfortable. The upper is super soft, like the grip knit upper just feels like a sock on your feet. Like they're very thin, they're really pliable, they just move with your foot. They're just really comfortable. Like I could honestly just go out and play with them, and honestly I don't think there's much break-in time needed with these. So in terms of the shape, they're basically the same as the previous model. They feel exactly the same. So if you fit in the Vapor 15 or Superfly 9, you should be able to fit in these. And I feel like these actually have a little bit more, not width, but I feel like it just more accommodating to wider feet just because the upper is just very soft, and like there isn't really any restrictions on the upper. Like there's nothing that is not allowing it to stretch, just because obviously grip knit is like a knit upper, and so it will kind of form to the shape of your foot to some extent. And so I feel like if you do have a bit of a wider foot, you shouldn't really have a problem wearing these. Obviously, it's going to be a tighter fit, but if you like that, like, kind of tight squeezing your foot sensation, then obviously that's what a Superfly or Vapor does. And yeah, these are no different. And so for me, even though obviously Vapors do have a tighter fit, these are pretty comfortable. I don't have any weird spots that are hurting me or like pinching spots. Usually here, everything feels fine. Like this seam, like I said, you don't really feel it inside the boot. Yes, you feel it outside of the boot, but inside, I don't notice it whatsoever. It's very seamless. In terms of the heel, it feels nice and locked in. There's a good amount of padding. There's no heel movement as I'm moving my heel up and down right now. They feel pretty solid and they're pretty comfortable. The dynamic collar obviously is there, but it really doesn't do anything. It's just there like hugging your ankle, and you probably won't notice that after a while, like running around. In terms of the like zoom unit underfoot, I feel like it feels the same. I don't really notice a huge difference right now. Maybe once I do start running around with these, I will notice them, like the changes that they've made. But so far, it doesn't feel like much different from like the Vapor 15. They feel alright. Maybe just a little bit more like consistent, I would say, all around. But other than that, like I can't really like tell the difference really with like the new zoom unit in the forefoot. But yeah, overall these feel really great. And these kind of remind me, I know it's kind of crazy, but these remind me of the Superfly 4 almost. Not so much the shape, but the way they just feel on feet. Like the upper is soft, like that upper was a knitted upper, like fly knit. This is grip knit, but still it just feels very soft. And the only difference is that it doesn't have like that fly wire running around. And so when you pull the laces with the Superfly 4, you really felt those fly wires like hugging your foot. And these kind of just feel the same, but except without the fly wire and that like restricted area here on the side of the foot. And so I just find these a little bit more comfortable than those. And I'm just very curious to see how these perform, just because it is like a much softer upper, and there really isn't that much like support on the upper. Like there's no internal cage or anything. Yeah, but overall I'm happy with the way they fit, the way they feel on feet. They are a little bit more comfortable than the previous Vapor, and I feel like they're just going to get even softer as you just play with them. Alright, so now we'll move on to my final thoughts. Alright, so first impressions with the Superfly 10, I really like them. I really like the change that they made with the upper, introducing grip knit. Like I feel like grip knit is such a good like material that actually works, like it provides grip. And honestly, I'm not mad that they added grip to like a Vapor or a Superfly. I feel like nowadays we're seeing that in speed boots, like grip texture is kind of being introduced to them, to like to the upper, and we're getting this here with obviously the grip knit upper. In the Puma Ultra, they also have like a coating that feels pretty grippy, and it's really noticeable when you're dribbling. And in the Adidas F50, we do have that sprint web texture that adds a little bit more roughness. It's a little different, but you do notice it when you're dribbling. So honestly, don't mind that they're adding grip to the Superfly and Vapor. So that's it for today's video. If you guys could like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. We're very close to 5K. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.